Holy mackerel, it's a windy one, boys. I'm gonna have to put the hat backwards on for this one. Ay, babalosa. All right, well, to be honest, I'm gonna try and hide behind this tree to save a little bit of audio for you guys. It is insanely windy today, and I literally just tried to do an intro and it just didn't work at all because of the darn wind. But today I want to show you guys something that's going to be super helpful. I kind of wish I had the information when I was a little bit younger, and that's going to be a baitcaster setup that is going to allow you to do everything. Now, this baitcaster setup is going to be a general use baitcaster. It's not going to be the one that you can literally use for everything. The sole purpose of this video is for those guys who don't have a boat, don't have a ton of setups, or those kids who want to buy a baitcaster. They know what they want, but they want one that they're going to get maximum use out of. So this is going to be a setup for the, you know, everyday pond hopper, for the once in a while pond bass fisherman, or just that one person who doesn't want to buy a million rods. They just want to keep one on them that they can use for a little bit everything. So I'm going to show you guys the setup. I brought the one with me here today, and we're going to fish after if we don't get blown off the face of the earth. So without further ado, let's go over to the GoPro. I'll talk to you guys about the rod setup and we'll start fishing. Okay guys, here we go. We're on the GoPro now. I got the rod set up right here in my hands. I apologize. I actually wanted to do this video like, you know, into detail and actually show you guys the rod on the big camera and things like that. But with these like 30-mile-an-hour winds today, it's just not making the greatest ordeal for the audio. So maybe at the end of the video here, I'll show you guys inside, you know, what the setup looks like in general and stuff. But what really matters is the specs, guys. This video was not intended to be a specific setup. This is just rod, reel, gear ratio, size, action, etc. to be able to get done what you need to get done today. And so the purpose of this is, you know, to be able to have one setup that you can either keep in your truck or bring with you everywhere and allow you to fish the majority of everything that you're going to be fishing. So right now I'm fishing here at a pond, and you know, when I was younger I would ride my bike places or I would get dropped off and I couldn't bring a million different rods because I was constantly hiking through the woods or just all kinds of things, right? I almost just had a fish right there. By the way, this is a baitcaster setup. I can do another video if you guys want me to do spinning reels, but this one is baitcaster specific. If you don't know how to use a baitcaster, I apologize. Maybe I'll do a spinning reel version. But the setup that I think you guys should have with you everywhere you go, or just to have one setup in general, is going to be a 7-foot medium heavy rod with like a fast action. Now why do I think this is a good rod to have, etc.? Because 7 foot is just like the perfect length. In my opinion, you can fish the majority of the baits. Having a fast action rod gives you the sensitivity you need for most baits, and it's just a good all-around rod. It's not too short if you decide to throw frogs one day or, you know, things like that, and it's not too long for crankbaits or just soft bait scenarios and stuff like that. So that is right there off the bat my first opinion. Just go for a 7-foot rod and get a medium heavy. Now why a medium heavy and not a medium or a heavy or a light action? It's for the sole purpose that you're going to be fishing a variety of baits, and a lot of times when you're fishing ponds or fishing from shore and stuff like that, when it hits summertime, you know, weeds get thick or you're fishing a lot of cover and stuff like that, and you guys want that backbone there. Oh, there's a fish right there. Boom, in the mitts. Pause that for a second. There we go. First little light color bass of the day. But going back to what I was saying about the rod, when you're going to be fishing a variety of baits, or you're going to be fishing in heavy cover, or just in general, you guys want some backbone there. Having like a medium, I don't believe will always give you the backbone, especially if you're fishing a bass jig or you're going to decide to start flipping a frog or something like that. So just, it's a good in between. Maybe for some baits it might feel a little bit too heavy, but you know, mind over matter it. I think it's a good way to go, and that's what I'm fishing right now, guys. I'm fishing a lipless crank, and I mean, depending on the rod you get and what it's made out of, you'll still get that sensitivity and stuff. But backbone when you're fishing a variety of baits is definitely important to me, and it's just going to help you guys out a lot. Moving on into the reel, you know, there's going to be some disagreements with this factor and things like that. Guys, this is all personal preference, but I do think you guys should go with a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel. And if you don't want to go 7-to-1 because you think that's too fast, I'm going to have to say I wouldn't go lower than 6'4". So I'd stick in the range between 6 to 4 to 1 or 7 to 1 to 1. And if you guys don't know what that means when it comes to baitcaster reels, that number stands for how many times the spool is spinning per single crank. So if it's a 6 to 4 to 1, that means the spool is spinning 6.4 times per one crank. And if it's 7 to 1, it's 7 times, or 7.1 times per one crank. Now, why is that ratio a good ratio? Why do I want to go with that? Is it too fast? What? I think it's perfect. Now, is it fast like 7 to 1? This reel right here, guys, this is a 7.0 burner right here, and I love this reel, and this was the first baitcaster reel I ever made a big purchase into. And I know that sounds fast, and you guys may disagree with this, but you have to look at it this way. Wow, that is a big dead bluegill, guys. Not to just change the subject, my ADD here, but holy cow, that is a big bluegill. 9 times out of 10, guys, I would think the average pond bass fisherman is going to be fishing baits like Cincos and worms or frogs or bass jigs, things like that. A lot of people tend to start off flipping just tons of soft plastics, and that just seems to be the go-to in the summertime. Yeah, you guys eventually may be throwing stuff like I am right now, lipless crank or square bills or things like that, but 9 times out of 10, the majority of the baits being fished are going to be soft plastics like Cincos and things like that. So having a faster gear ratio reel is going to be a lot more beneficial because it's easier to slow down reeling than to speed up reeling. And why this is important is because, oh, there's a fish right there, right by shore. Bingo, baby. But why this is important is because when you guys are fishing soft plastics and things like that, sorry, but I got you hooked kind of weird here. Oh, I am not dealing with getting hooked today. Okay, unhook yourself, that's fine too. Oh man, those feisty ones scare me when it comes to taking off treble hooks. Back to what I was saying about soft plastics and things like that, you're gonna want a faster gear ratio reel. And the reason that you want a faster gear ratio reel is because you wanna get a quicker hook set. When you're fishing jigs and soft plastics and stuff like that, and you're getting, you know, bit, you want to be able to get a quick hook set and you want to be able to reel up that slack real quick. I don't think it's as important when it comes to fishing things like this. And if you guys think it's too fast to be fishing crankbaits and stuff, I'm fishing a lipless crank right now on a 7 to 1 gear ratio reel. Should you? I don't know, it's personal preference, but this reel allows me to burn this bait if I want to, and I like fishing it fast this time of year. But if I really wanted to slow it down, all I gotta do is reel slower, and I can definitely slow down that presentation. So overall factor, guys, I think the majority of the fishermen out there probably fish soft plastics and jigs and stuff like that in their ponds, etc. So you just want a faster gear ratio reel. If you guys want to fish baits that are more fun to fish for bass or catch more bass consistently in the summer, or you decide to move into fishing, like there's a bass right there. Is that a bass or is that a crappie? Oh yeah, it's a bass. Man, guys, I'm killing the little ones. I'm trying to finish what I'm saying, but I'm getting all caught up on fish right here. I'm back. I know I've repeated myself because I keep getting into fish, but I'll just stop fishing so this doesn't happen again. That fast ratio reel, guys, is going to allow you to pick up that slack and get that hook set on those baits that a slow gear ratio reel won't allow you to. So when you're fishing a frog or you're fishing a Cinco or a jig, you really are relying on a quick hook set, and with a low gear ratio reel like a 5 to 4 or somewhere, you know, I guess 6 isn't too slow, but you're just not going to get it done as quick. So I think the majority of the baits that are fished, you know, during the summer and things like that, it's going to be a heck of a lot more beneficial to have a fast reel and slow things down if you need to than to have a slow gear ratio reel and have to try and burn your rod around. So yeah, that's about it, guys. And then when it comes to line choice, that's all personal preference. Right now, this setup is a setup I could use and I do take from place to place, but again, I do have a million different setups, so mine are a little more specific. Right now I'm running 12-pound fluorocarbon because I'm fishing a lipless crank, and this time of year I just like to fish fluorocarbon with this bait. You guys can fish braid if you want. Just my overall opinion, say you only do have one setup, what the best option for line is for you guys, I would say to go with braid. Why? Because braid is just going to be a lot more beneficial when it comes to fishing. Like I said earlier, those baits like soft plastics, jigs, and heavy cover baits. If you guys are in the summer and you're fishing weeds and things like that, you don't want to break off, you don't want to lose those baits, so just fish braid. If you're discouraged about fishing braid with crankbaits and stuff, you can throw a leader on there, but honestly guys, it's mind over matter. It may matter, people are going to disagree with me, but at the end of the day, just put some line in there, go fishing, because that's really what matters. I don't care what you guys think, argue with me, but I fished literally everything when I was younger. I just cared about fishing, and it got me to where I am today, and it caught me a ton of fish. So I may be a little more specific, but for all you guys who are learning and things like that, don't be discouraged, just get out there and get her done. It's not been a bad day. I got 3 fish so far, nothing too crazy, nothing too big. If you guys want to know what I'm fishing today, I am fishing a lipless crank. Gosh darn, I wish I knew the brand. I'm gonna figure this out. I got this bait in my mystery tackle box, and to be honest with you guys, this has been my most favorite lipless crank I've ever owned. Color scheme and everything. I don't know what it is about this, but this guy catches an insane amount of fish. I've caught all my fish this spring on this crankbait right here, and it's pretty much what I've stuck to. So it's super windy out, and today would be a good day to throw a spinnerbait, and I might try that here in a little bit. But this lipless crank, man, is freaking killing it. I think I'm gonna go buy like 6 more. So all I'm doing, guys, is I'm burning this pretty fast, and I'm just getting those bass triggered up. It's pre-spawn. Oh, that feels like a good fish, guys. Oh man. Oh man. Yep. That's not a good fish. That's a fertilizer bag. You know, that felt like dead weight, like he was a monster. I'm an idiot, but that's sick. I'm glad this is a clean clean golf course pond. Well, that's sweet. That just got me so hard. Oh my god. Well, that's gonna be funny to figure out. What the heck is this? Is this fertilizer? Topsoil. Well, shout out to this golf course for cleaning up. Can't say I've ever caught topsoil before, and I really thought that was a frickin' tank. Back to burning, burning. Man, don't you just love that? Like when you just get a dead weight whale. I started thinking to myself, like, there's no way this is a fish, but you know, I didn't want to jinx it. I thought I might have snagged like a carp or something, but you know, that's just how it goes, boys and girls. Sometimes you just gotta catch a bag of topsoil to remind you that, you know, you don't deserve a big fish. Alrighty guys, so the lipless crank kind of slowed down on me here for a little bit. It was a good get starter, and never seems to fail you in the spring or pre-spawn. What am I saying? Pre-spawn. So now I'm gonna throw on this guy right here. This might be 1 ounce, but I think it's a 1/2 ounce Colorado blade spinnerbait. Holy crap, I couldn't say that. I actually made the spinnerbait. Well, I didn't make it, I actually modified it. If you guys can see how big this Colorado blade is, this is actually a blade from one of my musky bucktails. But when it's really windy like this, I love to throw a big Colorado blade. It tends to, you know, just mock up the water a little bit more, and just a spinnerbait in general, guys, is a great bait to throw when it's windy out. And I mean, it's really windy out here today, so I'm gonna try and throw this a little bit and see if we can't get into a little bit better of a bite. Now, this is a big bait, so hopefully we can get on, you know, maybe a little bit bigger of a fish bite. But like I was telling you guys, I don't even know if there's even a single 4 or 5 pounder in this pond anymore. Holy mackerel, this wind. I don't even know if you guys can hear me. I'm gonna try this big old spinnerbait. The spinnerbait even has a little paddle tail on there. But yeah, guys, this is just gonna be a heck of a thump. A Colorado blade, it tends to give off a little more thump earlier in the year, like earlier and later in the year when temperatures are a little bit colder. I like to go with the Colorado blade. It also fishes a little bit slower, but it just tends to be a real big bait to trigger a big bite this time of year. So I'm gonna try this, see if we can't get on a decent fish here. or maybe another topsoil bag. But if you guys can see that, that is a darn big bait. Not potentially the color I'd love to throw in stained water like this. I wish I had like a black and blue, but I mean, it's pretty white. It'll do. The spinnerbait didn't really prevail today, but that's okay. I don't have too much time to fish today, unfortunately. Also, the wind is kind of out of control, so I planned on pond hopping today, but with filming and wind and everything, as you guys can see right now, it just doesn't seem to go well. So if you guys are going to end the video here and you don't care much about fishing rod setups, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the 3 little fish that I caught. But if you guys do want a little more information or a little more detail on the setup that I was using today, or the best possible setup you guys can use for everything, stay tuned. I'm gonna hop in my truck, I'm gonna take you guys home with me, and I'm gonna throw the camera up on a tripod, and I'm gonna go a little bit more into detail about what I was talking about at the beginning of this video. So we're gonna pack things up and get out of this darn wind. So as you guys can see, we're now in the basement. If you guys stayed to watch this part of the video, then you probably want to know a little bit more about this rod setup. And again, guys, today's video, the whole purpose was to just show you guys a baitcaster setup that could be very versatile and get you out there fishing. Say you only have enough money to purchase one setup, or you're not in the position to have $1 million, or maybe you just don't want to. The reason this setup is so important to me was because when I was learning how to fish, or when I was a younger age where I didn't have a boat, all I had was a vehicle or a bike, I could only bring one setup with me. And when you're hiking around and you're pond hopping, it's kind of annoying to carry a bunch of setups. Maybe you just want one setup and a backpack full of baits. So this setup right here in particular, I think is perfect. It's gonna get everything done for you. You may disagree with me, but if you disagree with me, then it sounds like you already know what you guys need to pick up. So I think this right here would be a good start. Now this rod that I have right here in front of me is more on the expensive side. I'm not saying you guys should go out and buy this particular setup. It's the specs that matter. So for this purpose of this video, if you guys want, I'll tell you the setup at the end, but let's ignore the price range of this particular setup, and let's just pay attention to, you know, the specs on the rod itself. So starting off with the rod right here, again guys, this is a 7-foot medium heavy fast action rod. Now the reason that I think this rod is perfect for just your all-around fishing is because it's a good intermediate size that's going to allow you to do everything. Now you may think, you know, medium heavy might be a little bit too heavy, but I don't think so at all. The majority of you guys who are going out pond hopping or fishing a variety of baits, you're gonna want a medium heavy rod. When you're flipping Cincos, bass jigs, you're gonna throw frogs, you in particular want a heavier setup when you're fishing heavy cover and things like that. So you're gonna be able to get that all done with this rod. You're not gonna get as much backbone as a heavy rod setup, but you're gonna be able to fish those things. At the same time, you'll be able to fish, you know, the lighter stuff like spinnerbaits, square bills, you know, other topwater like spooks, walking baits, and you know, you can still get away with fishing finesse baits with this rod because you're still gonna get that sensitivity there a little bit. It's not gonna be as great as a medium or a light, but you're still gonna be able to fish it. And 7 foot is a great all-around rod to do everything. It's long enough to fish the majority of the baits, and it's not too short at the same time. It's just a good medium range. I don't see the point in going less than 7 foot in my own opinion. Most of my rods that I have are like 7 foot or higher, but it's personal preference. In my particular choice, I go with a 7 foot for an all-around fishing rod. Now going into the reel, there's so many different gear ratios on the market there and stuff like that. It might get overwhelming. A lot of you guys might not even know what gear ratio means, but for this setup, I chose a 7-to-1 gear ratio. You guys can go with a 6-to-4 if you want to slow it down a little bit more, but personally, I think a 7-to-1 can get you fishing and do everything that you need to do. 7-to-1 was the first gear ratio reel I ever purchased. I purchased it unintentionally. I had no idea really anything about Baitcaster gear ratios or anything like that. I just, you know, bought a Baitcaster because I wanted a Baitcaster and I learned how to use one. But the reason that I chose 7-to-1, I know some of you guys are probably thinking, holy cow, dude, that's fast to be fishing everything. But if you think about it this way, the majority of the baits that you're going to be fishing in a pond, like Cincos, worms, jigs, frogs, anything like that, guys, you need a quick retrieve. Any bait that you're going to be pop and letting it pause and you're feeling for a bite, you're going to want to be able to pick that line up fast and get a good hook set. And in my opinion, that's the majority of the baits that the average bass fisherman fishes with. Now, when you get into crankbaits and spinnerbaits and stuff like that, yes, I understand this may be kind of fast, but again, like I was saying in the video earlier, I think it's easier to slow down your rotation with this reel, and it's a lot easier to do that than it is to have to really quickly crank up a rod to get a hook set. I think you're gonna get a lot better hook sets with this reel fishing the majority of the baits that you fish than with like a 5-4 or something like that. So again, you can go with a 6-to-4 gear ratio. It's a little bit slower, and if you guys aren't familiar with what the ratio means, the numbers before the 1 means how many times the spool is spinning per crank. So 7-to-1 means this spool right here is spinning 7.1 times per 1 crank. So again, you may disagree with me here with how fast the reel is, and I know it's kind of a fast reel, but this is what I learned on. Guys, I've fished square bills and everything. You just got to reel a little bit slower, especially when I was fishing the spinnerbait. I just had to really slow down and feel for my bite. So, and as far as line goes, guys, if you're a beginner and you're going to be fishing just heavier baits and heavier cover, fish braid. If you're not particular about what you're fishing or don't understand lines, just get line in there, guys. I preach just getting out there and going fishing, and everybody has to start somewhere. If you don't know everything from head to toe, do your research, find out what's going to be best for you. There's 3 different types of lines out there. Monofilament has more stretch in it. It floats. Fluorocarbon, it sinks. It's a little bit more sensitive. It is a little bit clearer, and it has less stretch to it. And then there's braid. Braid is just a heavy cover line that you want to use for frogs and just fishing in that deep, heavy stuff. And braid has 0 stretch, or for the most part, 0 stretch. So that's your difference between 3 lines. Pick what fits you the best, what you're going to be doing the most. But at the end of the day, it's important that you get out there and fish. If you guys want to know what this setup is right here, this is a Quantum PT Tournament Series reel. Yes, I know this reel's a little bit on the expensive side. This reel's like 300 bucks, if not more. I don't even know if you can get this exact reel anymore. And then this rod right here is a Ducket Ghost. It's about $99.99, so about a $100 rod. So you're looking at like a $400 setup right here. But by all means, you guys don't need that to get out there and fish. I just have it because I've been fishing a long time, and I tend to like to treat myself. So there you guys have it right there. What I think is the perfect all-around setup to fish a little bit of everything when you're pond hopping, lake fishing, etc. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was kind of all over the place and the weather's pretty bad, but I got out there, I caught fish today, I fished with the setup that I'm talking about today, and at the end of the day, it's just a great day. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you like this video. If you want me to do this same exact video but with a spinning rod, leave a comment down below. And hey, you guys know the deal. I will see y'all in the next one.